Welcome to the Growth Network and welcome to Teacher Tips. This is our opportunity to think through some of the themes raised in each chapter of the 5 dysfunctions of an SLT. Our first chapter is leadership, and the first 2 teacher tips we're going to think about today are smile and find your inspiration. So in our first episode, we meet the head teacher who has had a change of heart. He's been on a course. He's decided that he wants to change the way that he approaches his job. And we might think that he was going to come up with some great plan to make the school different, but clearly the problem is he's done that before and it hasn't worked. So what's different this time is the realization that who he is matters at least as much as what he does. And that's why the first thing we see him do is to stand at the door of the school and greet his staff with a smile. Now, in a school facing multiple problems, this could feel like a very small and insignificant change. But of course, it could have a very significant impact on the way in which those staff perceive their leader, their jobs, and finally, their impact on the young people they serve. Meeting somebody who smiles at you in the morning is very likely to affect the way that you approach your day and the people that you come into contact with. Smiles are infectious, and they mean that you're more likely to pass something positive onto other people as you go through the day. Now, one of the core ideas of the Growth Network is that who we are matters at least as much as what we do. Someone said we are human beings before we are human doings. And that's what we're trying to get at with this first change from the head teacher. The way he behaves could possibly be the most significant factor in changing the way that the school is. One senior leader commented to me that her team tended not to greet each other in the morning, maybe because she as the leader didn't greet them. And this in turn meant that the relationship they had was perhaps efficient, but not very warm. So the question is, why smile? Are we just pretending to be happy? Well, that brings us to the second of this week's teacher tips, which is to find your inspiration. Because it's easy to see work as drudgery. We have to show up. We have to follow the timetable. We have to attend meetings and do tasks. The same can be true of life outside of work. We just get into the habit of doing things day after day and forget why we're doing what we're doing, which is why the second of the teacher tips is to come back to your inspiration. Now, we get inspired by all sorts of stuff. It's not just to become teachers, but also to become the kind of people we are. And that easily gets forgotten in the rush of daily life. So think about what inspired you in the first place, or what has inspired you recently. Perhaps it was a great TED talk like Ken Robinson's classic Do Schools Kill Creativity? This is still the #1 TED talk ever. To be honest, I don't really like it, but a lot of people are inspired by it. When I was younger, I was always inspired by the film The Dead Poets Society, and actually, I still come back to watch it from time to time. Not because it inspired me to become a teacher, but because it encapsulated a spirit I admired and wanted to emulate. And the book you can see there behind me, the Love Teaching, Keep Teaching, actually it's the book I wish I'd written. It's a manifesto for how teaching could become more sustainable. And it's one of 3 books which have inspired the 5 dysfunctions of an SLT. The other 2 are Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team. And Paul Dix's When the Adults Change, Everything Changes. And that final book is where the idea of simply smiling comes from. Why does smiling matter? Because it makes you feel better. It makes the people around you feel better. It creates a better environment. And remember, who we are matters at least as much as what we do. But perhaps the most fundamental reason to smile is that fundamentally everything is okay. You may be busy today. You may be dreading some elements of what you do. But if you let yourself believe it, everything will be okay at the end, whether you achieve what you want to or not. So refresh your inspiration and let it make you smile. And join us next week for another Teacher Tips.